But in spite of all of these differences, there's a common bond that unites all of us, and that is we are all interested in success. But you know, that's not just true of this group. We could go into any city in the world and we could get a group of people together at random, and that group of people would also be interested in success. Because you see, everybody is interested in success. Nobody wants to fail. These two words, success and motivation. Now let's begin by getting a good definition of this word success. We define it this way, that success is the progressive realization of worthwhile, predetermined personal goals. Now you take that definition and you examine it. You look at it very carefully. Let the full impact of that definition get into your mind. First of all, we recognize that that definition says that success is a personal thing. This means that it's a different thing for different people. It also says that there is a moral and an ethical quality to success, that the goal should be a worthwhile goal. But perhaps the most significant thing about that definition is that it pinpoints the fact that success is a journey and not a destination. It fixes the point of success at the beginning and not at the end. That definition says that any individual who sets a worthwhile personal goal and moves towards that goal is successful. And it says that the moment he sets that goal and the moment he moves towards it, that's the moment of his success. And you know what's more? He knows it. He experiences daily the thrill of success and accomplishment. He has that rare mixture of inner excitement and inner calm that is the basis for successful living. Now let's look at this other word, motivation. When you see that word motivation, what synonyms, what adjectives, what descriptive phrases come to your mind as you think about the word motivation? What's it make you think of?
Movement. I'd say movement.
Okay, movement. All right, good. Motivation is movement. That's kind of a long word, movement. Can we shorten it?
Move.
Move. All right, good. Motivation means move. What else does it mean?
Action.
Action? That's another long one. Can you shorten that one?
Act.
Okay, act. Motivation is move. It's act. We've got a 4-letter word and a 3-letter word. Let's try for 2. Can you think of a 2-letter word that means motivation?
Do.
Do. Very good. Well, I don't think we can beat that, but maybe we can tie it. Can you think of another 2-letter word that means motivation? Go. All right. Motivation is exactly that. It is the move, it is the act, it is the do and the go in behavior. Our business, you see, is getting people into action, getting them to do what they already know how to do. Let's look at it from another viewpoint. If I cover up the last 5 letters of that word, another word jumps out at you. What do you see? Motive. All right. Motivation and motive go together. Well, what's the word motive mean?
A motive is a reason.
All right, a motive is a reason. What else is a motive?
Objective.
It's an objective, a purpose. A motive is a goal. And what we're saying is that an individual who is motivated must be one who has a motive and a purpose and a goal. They go together. Look at the word some more. Let me cover up the first half of it. Another word jumps out. What word do you see? You see action. And that's a perfect description or definition of what motivation means. Motivation is goal-directed action. That's exactly the definition that we had for success. And so you see, these two terms, these two ideas go together. They're synonymous. They're inseparable. They mean the same thing. We cannot have success without motivation. We cannot separate these two ideas. But the idea of motivation is also very old. Actually, it goes back clear to the history of the human race. Now, the oldest, most primitive form of motivation was motivation through fear. And the idea behind this was that a man is going to motivate by forcing other people to do what he wanted them to do. In the very earliest days, the motivator was the one who was the biggest and the strongest. And then man made a discovery. He invented money. And when he invented money, he created a tremendous capacity to use fear and force as a method of motivation, because he developed economic power and economic leverage. A perfect illustration of this is back in the Middle Ages. You know, back there, the man that had the money owned the castle, he owned the soldiers, he owned the land, he even owned the people that worked on the land. Now, to him, the problem of motivation was very simple. You know, if they didn't work, you just haul one of them in and strung him up. It was simple. But we don't have to look back to the Middle Ages to get that kind of a situation. We can look right here in our own country 50 to 60 years ago, and we can see situations in which people tried to use fear or force as a method of motivating others to do what they wanted them to do. We have discovered a new way to motivate and to make it practical. And that kind of motivation is attitude motivation, and the psychology of attitude motivation is change. In other words, what we are saying is, instead of driving the donkey with a stick or luring the donkey with a carrot, we say change the donkey into a thoroughbred. Get him to run because he wants to run, because the running blood is in his veins. Now, I recognize that you can't change a donkey. Once he's a donkey, he's always a donkey. You can enter a donkey in the Kentucky Derby every year for 100 years, and he's never going to win it. But a man can change. When motivation is based on attitude change, it's an inside-out proposition. It's permanent. This is an idea whose time has come, and nothing is as powerful as an idea whose time has come. Let's examine how it works. What we are saying is that we are going to affect the basic personality of an individual. Let's examine this word personality. When you think of the word personality, what do you think of? Is personality something on the inside or something on the outside of an individual? All right, it's both, right. Personality, then, is the outer expression of something that's on the inside. So the question, then, is what is it on the inside of which personality is the outer expression? What do we have on the inside of us that our personality expresses on the outside?
It's just what we were talking about. It's our attitude.
All right, our attitude. Exactly. Personality is an outer expression of inner attitude. Well, then what's attitude?
The way we feel.
Well, the way we feel, all right. The way we think. Okay, it's close. Attitude's related to thought, but it's different from thought. Actually, an attitude, if we stop and think about it, is a habit of thought. Now, let's examine that. What we are saying is that we have thought certain kinds of thoughts about ourselves, about other people, until these thoughts have become habits. And these habits have become attitudes, and these attitudes make up our personality. Habits of thought. Well, what's a habit? What word do you think of when you think of the word habit?
Something you do automatically.
All right, something you do automatically. Automatic is a good word that correlates with the word habit. What's another one?
Instinctive.
All right, instinctive. Excellent. What's another one? Reflex. All right, that's very good. I think probably that's the best one. An attitude is a habit of thought, and a habit is a reflex. Now, what we're saying is that we are motivating people by giving them a new set of automatic and instinctive reflexes, by exposing them to positive thoughts and ideas. They begin to develop new thought habits. And these new thought habits express themselves in attitudes, and these attitudes become their personality. Now, if we'll let the real significance of that idea hit us, we'll recognize that what we are saying is that what we are, this person that we know ourselves to be, is really made up of our attitudes, and our attitudes are made up of what we think, And so what we are saying is that what we are is what we think about. Now the Bible puts it in an interesting way. It says that whatsoever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Well, the first thing that we've got to recognize is that it's not easy. It's difficult to change attitudes, difficult to change thought habits. If we are going to change them, let's be honest and recognize we're going to have to exert a force to get it done. Let's say that I wanted to drive a nail as big as this pencil into a solid piece of oak lumber. And I was out trying to find the man that could drive that nail with one lick. It'd be hard to find a man with a good enough eye and a good enough arm to drive a nail that big in one lick. I've got a 14-year-old boy that can do it if you'll give him enough repetitions. And so repetition is much stronger than impact. I think perhaps I could express it best if we could use an illustration. And I'd like to use an illustration from the world of sports, and I would like to have your cooperation. It's always exciting to me to see those strong young athletes standing there in that huddle and that young quarterback confidently kneeling down there and describing that play. And when he's got the play called, they clap their hands and they come out of that huddle and they come up to the line of scrimmage, and that young quarterback walks up and he checks over those offensive linemen of his and checks over his backfield and looks out there at that defensive formation. He leans down under that center. The crowd's noisy, and so he stops. And it's a hometown crowd, and when he raises his hands, all of a sudden, zoom, they just get quiet. And way up there on the 50-yard line, you can hear him call that play. Pretty soon when he's got that play called, hot, hot, and he takes that ball from the center, and with the grace and the coordination and the skill born of countless hours of practice, he hands it off to that fullback coming out of the backfield. Now here comes that fullback, full blast. Boy, he grabs that ball, he pulls it down inside his stomach, he sure doesn't want to drop it. He pulls in his neck because he sure doesn't want to get it stepped on. He rolls that shoulder because he wants to hit hard. And about that time, some other things begin to happen. Those offensive linemen are charging out, trying to open up a hole, and it all happens at once, and whack! That fullback hits the line. Well, when the play's over, and the fullback's on his back, and he tosses the ball up to the official, and he looks up on the scoreboard, and there the awful truth is told. It's second down, 4 yards to go, and the clock is running. He didn't gain an inch. Now, the point of the whole story takes place right here. When that fullback tosses the ball to the official and comes back up into the huddle, and if you were there, you would hear him say something like this when he sticks his head in the huddle. He'd say, well, fellas, I tried. Give the ball to somebody else. Too tough for me. Did everything I was supposed to do. Didn't score. Maybe he'd stand up, wave over to the coach on the sideline. Take me out, coach. Take me out. Now, is that what he would do? Listen, you and I know that's not what he would do. If it's a well-run football team, nobody talks in that huddle except the quarterback. But if you could hear the prayer in that young fullback's heart, you'd know he would be saying something like this, give me that ball. Give me that ball. Why? Because that young man would hit that line and hit that line and hit that line 100 times if you'd give him that many downs. Why would he do it? Because he's a young man who has a goal and a desire. He is a self-motivated, goal-directed individual. Now listen to me. If young men playing football, which is a game that little boys can play, can take that kind of a spirit and that kind of a dedication, and remember basically it's a spiritual and psychological dedication, into a game like that, how much more should you and I involve in the important game of life, determine that we are going to be self-motivated and goal-directed people? How much more should we determine that we are going to reach our goals and objectives as individuals? I challenge all of you to pay the price of success, whatever the price that you have to pay, whatever it costs you individually. pay that price. Whatever it is, it's worth it. Thank you. Thank you.